Ready? Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm Blake Johnson. I am doing something a little bit different. I'm a musician, so I kind of found a common ground between bands and business, because essentially they're establishing a brand and a message that they're sending out. The Portables is just a temporary name. So this is just got some pictures of our band practices and stuff throughout. So brief story, we started writing last fall, and we, 3 out of the 4 of us, Dan, me, and Zach, had a band in high school, and we're kind of taking that and twisting it a little bit. And going forward with that. Problem, I mean, besides just in general loving music and writing for the sake of music, I personally feel like music in general is kind of going down the hole, mainstream music in terms. It's just overproduced, and essentially now it's a person standing behind a computer. They hit play, and that's how music is done now. Especially a lack of meaning and purpose. But at the same time, since we are, the millennial generation is kind of booming, and very expressive bands are also in the same boat with that, so they're kind of coming on the rise. But mainstream-wise, it's not as prevalent. So solution, our music, quality, written for the sake of music, and no gimmicks. So we're really taking our time during our writing process. Like we only have 1.5 songs really solidified right now, but we have 7 that we're working on, 7 to 8 that we're working on. And so, again, writing for the sake of music, we're not just writing to make big money. We're not writing music that's going to just sound good to the ears, but rather music that we enjoy playing, that it's challenging but also simple at the same time. And then no gimmicks. We're trying to pave our own path and really create our own brand and kind of image, which a lot of bands don't do anymore. They kind of just hop on the bandwagon and find what people are doing and just kind of following where the money is. Going forward, brief, unique value proposition. So we have a sound that incorporates samplings from indie music, alternative, and funk styles. So it's kind of fused together to create a really unique sound. As well as we wanted to form a band that can stand for a cause. Music in general is like we see a band on stage and they have huge followings. People will go diehard fan, believers, stuff like that. So really they have a lot of power to influence what people are interested in, what they're following, what they're involved in. And so we wanted to incorporate that. We don't have anything specific because we are still focusing on writing, but we eventually want to take on an organization to partner with and kind of market and promote as we are playing shows. So customer segments, music listeners, I mean men and women, doesn't need to be specific gender, 16 plus. It's a little bit harder because since we only have a song and a half, we don't really have a full sound yet that we can really know who we're going to be targeting to. But right now it's just kind of really broad, and especially being in Minneapolis, and we're located in Northeast, is where we kind of work out of. So that's a huge hub for music in general, and people love to learn about new styles and new bands constantly. Record companies, as we're kind of getting more music and gaining more traction, we're going to need to be looking for places to record, and that will, prices will vary on that, and I'll kind of get into the pricing a little bit later. As well as brand ambassadors on like social media sites. For instance, our singer's girlfriend has a huge following on Instagram through, I don't know how she's done that, but she's like a daily vlogger kind of thing. Like she just her entire life is on there, and she's gained a following, and she's willing to, once we kind of get the wheels going, really get our name out there. As well as endorsements, which is gear. Gear is huge within the musician community, especially in bands in general. You find out what your favorite bands are using, and then that kind of sparks conversations, and that can go a lot of different directions. And then with that, like I said, other bands, and that's just while playing with other bands and getting closer knit in that community, then even though it seems like it's a very competitive market, music is actually a very strong, the bands within the communities are very close-knit and very tight. So, let's see if I have more. And then, yeah, so like when we do play more shows, the Sounds Like thing, so it sounds like U2, but secretly wants to be Britney Spears, something like that. I don't know what you said in the email.
That was just an example.
Yeah,
You're not supposed to go with that one.
Example you could have chosen.
I said you should get a target audience as like, be something weird like U2 meets Britney Spears, you know, as your target.
Don't do that.
So I decided not to. I'm not going to go that route. But anyway, so some channels, music platforms in general, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud. Some are free, some are pay to use, such as SoundCloud is a free account. You can just set it up and start posting music, and it's a great way to get your music out there. And then Spotify and iTunes is usually, Spotify is, I'm not sure exactly, since it's not you're not gaining revenue off it, it's more just getting your name out there. I'm not sure the exact down payment or if it's a monthly fee. iTunes is, I believe you pay a down payment and then you pay a small percentage of each song that is purchased. YouTube is huge because you can have your band profile, but then also start branching off and getting followings through different music channels, such as Audio Tree, which is a company that is based in Chicago, and they bring in up-and-coming bands specifically to get their name out there to broadcast their name. So actually, one band that was on there from Australia has blown up in the US over the last year through this YouTube channel that started with a couple views and now gained up to 50,000, 100,000. Social media, creating accounts on these and doing day-to-day life of the band, what's writing like, just all of that kind of stuff. Noise Trade is the way to find tours. And people are actually really interested in finding out what bands do on a day-to-day basis, so that can get a great following as well as grassroots marketing and promotion, which isn't utilized as much anymore, which is going store to store, passing out posters, hanging up posters, stickers, whatever it might be, music download cards. And then, again, equipment endorsements is a way to just kind of get your name out there and find new bands to play with as well. So a basic outline of the cost structure. Right now, as we're kind of we're still in the writing process, we haven't played any shows yet. We need a new soundboard, some microphones, and then accessories, cables, stands, such as those kind of things. And that will also vary because we have a guitar player that works at a music around, so we get discount prices, and the prices on the equipment vary as they're kind of coming in and out. As a store, recordings, we can start by doing a really rough EP, which is an extended play, just a few songs, and then we can do that pretty cheap. We actually have the equipment to do that ourselves right now, but it would be very rough recordings. And then just some CD and merchandise production. I found a local CD producer, and it varies depending on how much you're ordering, from like 200 to a couple thousand. CDs, it can range from 50 cents to $1.95 per CD, and 22 cents to 30 cents, depending on what kind of case you're wanting, if it's like a plastic paper sleeve or the plastic, or the actual case itself. And then booking agents, managers, vans, trailers, and we'll come later as we if we ever get to the point where we're touring and playing shows. So that's a little bit more out there, but these are some common statistics with their commission is usually what they're making, because it's not an hourly rate, because there's not a show every day or a certain amount of time that they're present. As well as t-shirts can range from $4 to $8, as we already know from last semester, and a lot of people doing the t-shirt fulfillments through the different websites, and a lot of them do similar things like the Amazon merch, where they go through a merchandise company for bands specifically, and they will just harbor these designs and pay through them, so they don't have to actually hold any inventory, because bands are constantly on the go and they don't have one location that they can just store it at. So some metrics, a lot of the social networks have some basic data analytic options you can kind of go through. So that's kind of tracking awareness by likes, comments, shares, views, and follows. Revenue is merchandise, ticket sales, if the venue themselves just pay you for coming in, and then sales off songs on iTunes, Amazon Music, whatever it might be. And then shows, turnout, ticket sales, and bookings will also, by how many shows we're actually playing for bookings, ticket sales and then turnout will be different because somebody might buy a ticket but not actually show up to the show, so that might skew numbers a little bit. Alright, so where are we now? As I stated earlier, we are in the early stages of writing. We are aiming for an EP ready by fall so we can start recording and playing shows. We have a basic foundation for funding. I set up an Excel spreadsheet, and we have a verbal agreement that we'd start with $20 a month from each of us to start pulling in money, just as a slow start, as half of us are in school and have part-time jobs that we can hardly pay our rent. So we're starting off slow, and we'll eventually start kind of doubling that up, as well as getting revenue off the shows and merchandise sales. So we have some connections, like brand ambassadors that have kind of thrown out the idea to help us with shooting music videos around the Twin Cities, and so that's been great to kind of have some free help on that. And since we are in the early stages, we have very minimal risk, but it's also a band, so there's a very high amount of risk at the same time. And so, as I said, yeah, we have 2 to 3, go back, 2 to 3 songs ready. We have rough equipment that'll get us through the time being, but eventually we want to kind of start getting up so we can get more songs produced. And then next steps, we want to double up rehearsals, just write more. It's really hard when one of our members has a kid, and we're all struggling with school, part-time jobs, full-time jobs. Trying to lock down funding, create and develop social media presence. So we kind of learned from our band in high school that since we didn't have recordings right away, but we decided to create a MySpace, Facebook page and start throwing our name out there. The main question was, where are your recordings? And we didn't have it. So eventually people kind of stopped losing interest. And I mean, I can personally attest to this because there's a local musician in Minneapolis that I've been trying to follow for the last year, and she keeps saying that she's going to update her website and she's going to put songs out, but she never does, and so now I've completely lost interest because I don't think she's going to do it. So just going on, looking for venues to play at, recording a song, a 4 to 5 song EP, and the experiment hypothesis, which I kind of, we had to create a test earlier this semester. And it's kind of hard to throw into play right now since we don't have anything to really market. But it was, if we can explore new and diverse channels for advertising and promotion, then we can have a better brand awareness, show turnout, and merchandise sales. And it's through grassroots tactics and as well as online presence. Any questions?
I used to be a manager for an artist at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna nail you a little bit on some stuff. So just kind of run with me here for a second.
Sure.
Distribution channels. Why in the include expletive would you ever pay for CDs?
I'm using an outdated music marketing book. So.
Yeah, don't ever do that. I would highly suggest doing distribution channels on like iTunes, SoundCloud, all that kind of fun stuff. It's super cheap. You're going to make way more money doing it that way than anything else. The other big thing is going to be regularness or regularity, whatever you call it. Make sure you're releasing things, like even if it's one song, you can post on iTunes.
Yep.
Hey, preview, whatever, do it. Like it's worth millions in doing that. The other thing I would say is, you're not going to like this question, but what if no one likes your music?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I mean, like I told you earlier, I'm maximizing as much as I play, not solely for money. I mean, I kind of came to terms with that a long time ago, that this isn't an area in my life I might not become rich on.
Okay.
But it's just where I really enjoy
Okay.
spending my time and putting effort. So.
Passion project, taking
Right.
basically what
Right,
you want
so
and
it's like,
hopefully
I mean,
making money.
right now it's just starting out, it's like when we have free time, we'll write some songs and we'll play some shows, but we're fully expected to have a full-time job for
Okay.
a significant amount of time.
Okay. Then yeah, don't buy CDs.
Okay.
That'd be my only big thing. Go ahead. Anybody else?
So, per the earlier conversation about partners, there was one thing you said in there that just sent all sorts of red flags and explosions off in my head.
The girlfriend bidding
Well,
partner.
the fact that you've got everything right now as a verbal agreement,
Yeah.
you need to lock that down. I have there's actually one of my employees, literally lost into the multiples of six figures because he never had something in writing. He had a verbal understanding with a partner that he trusted at the time. I have lost probably multiples of six figures because of partners in the past as well. So make sure that you get everything in writing, laid out, spend the time to do it, and if it never turns into anything, if it's just a passion project as you call it, then fine, but if it does turn into something, you need that stuff laid out in terms of, okay, we're all contributing this, and if one person contributes more, then that means, the equity changes and so forth, but get it laid out.
Okay, we got to go to the next one. Let's give him a hand. And then who wants to go last but not least?
We got two. I can go after.
Yep, we got well, Luke and then two to go after that. Yeah, that's what I said. Who wants to go last but not least?
I know. It's like it's so wide open.
Do you mind going last, Nick?
No. I just can't.
I'm coming through.
It's funny because it's
Ah.
presentations are